Hi everyone, welcome back to Brookdale Farm. Well, today I thought I might just show you a little project that I did recently. Everybody who's done any metalwork knows the importance of having a reasonable anvil at times when you want to hammer on things. And a piece of railway line makes a great anvil. And nothing wrong with using it just like this down on your bench. But it's very easy to make these into a really nice small anvil to hammer on. So this is one that I recently made, and this was all done with tools that most people have in their home workshops, and I'm quite pleased with the way this one turned out. So I start with a basic piece of railway line like this. This is 250 millimeters long, and I normally cut back about 50 millimeters here. So I'm going to trim this back here 50 millimeters, but just the lower half, not the top, not the head of it. Then I just cut. So when I'm cutting the rail, I usually use a power hacksaw, but you can use an angle grinder or a cut-off saw. It just I find it easier in a power hacksaw. Then I use just a thin angle grinder blade on a 5-inch grinder, and I slice a wedge down either side here. The circle cutouts down here are just made with a hole saw. Drill through there. I find you can use, if you don't have hole saws, you can just cut a triangle out of there with an angle grinder. I think the hole saw gives a nice neat finish. So once I've trimmed the hole saw, once I've used the hole saw down there, cut this, the 2 wedges off here. There's a fair bit of work to do with the grinder to flatten this out. Rail always has a bit of a curve to it. And there's always a little bit of wear on your corners, and depending, sometimes the head is quite worn. So I just use 5-inch grinder disc. It takes quite a long time to flatten this out. You can see on this one, I normally leave one side rounded and I square off the face on the other side. If you've got a milling machine or something like that, you can do this really quickly and easily. I don't have access to that, things like that, so I just use an angle grinder. Once I've got it reasonably flat, I do use a 9-inch grinder with a new disc on, and I just run it quickly across there. This shows all the high spots, and then I go back to my 5-inch grinder and I just keep working at it like that to level it out. If you don't have a 9-inch grinder, you can use a piece of sandpaper on a sanding block or something. You just want to be able to scratch the top of all the high points, and then you can keep working away at it with your 5-inch grinder. To finish, and then the beak here, that is all just done by eye with a 5-inch grinder, and I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. It's a little bit lopsided, but yeah, I just kept working away at the corners with the grinder. To finish it off, I just use some flap discs. I have some coarse flap discs that I just use to finish taking it down to the right height, and then I have a reasonably fine flap disc that I use just to give it a finish polish up. You can still see in the head here there's marks from the grinder, and I didn't buff all of them out with the flap discs. It just depends how much time you want to spend sitting there with an angle grinder. This one did take me 6 to 8 hours with the grinder to make, so it's not a quick process, but I think it comes up really nicely compared to just a bare piece of railway line. The beak gives you a lot more options as if you're doing little tiny bits of metalwork, and yeah, this is a relatively simple way to make a neat little anvil with tools that most people have got sitting at home. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little video. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Thanks, bye.